So today we're going to dive into the Module 3 solution. And I hope you've had some opportunities to dig into the Module 3 study guide addendum, where we've summarized many of the key concepts that we wanted to clarify from earlier sessions and from updates. The updates and material in some regards were out of sync. So please be sure to memorize the addendum and the study guide before we post the Module 3 assessment. I am still in the process of getting the retake for Module 2 out there. I've got it together, but I want to review it to make sure it's consistent with what we reviewed with your first attempt. And I wanted to check in with you that after our Tuesday session about VirtualBox and server maintenance and the walkthrough we did there, I ran across an interest where, depending on the platform you're running with, if you're running with Windows 10, in Windows 11 it doesn't seem to pop up, but in Windows 10 an error is thrown when you try to load the latest version of VirtualBox, and it says you need the Visual C++ redistributable. And I thought I tried to give a heads up about see the extra link or something like that, right? Does everybody know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. Again, you can post additional credit if you include screenshots like the video from the class. So did anybody run into any snags with this assignment, and was everybody able to complete this assignment, or are we still, because we wanted it done by 11 a.m. start of class? Did everyone have a chance to complete this, or do you need the rest of the day to complete this?
I ran into one issue. I sent an email, but you said your email's messed up right now. But when I was trying to update Windows, the Windows server, like on the VM, um, it wouldn't like when I go to Windows Update, it keeps saying error.
Okay.
I try to check for an update. So
Would you be interested in sharing a screen now, or in a few minutes? You could start your virtual machine up, and then when you're ready, you could say, "Okay, I have a screen to share."
yeah, I'm starting it up right now. Just give me a couple minutes.
And then let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and bump the due date back to 11:59 p.m. Luke, how are you doing with this?
I also ran into an issue. It was really bad.
Oh my.
So I got I got VirtualBox 7.0 to actually install and everything, and I got the extension pack that we required, and I did the extra step with the hash tool to verify that we have the right download. But the problem I was running into was, from all reports I've been seeing on the forums, is that there's an incompatibility issue between the extension pack and the version of the VirtualBox for any Unix-based operating system. So Macs and Linux and a couple other operating systems been experiencing the issue.
I haven't witnessed this in PG Book or other Linux VMs, but
no, not the VM itself, but any like host that's using.
Oh, a Linux host that's using VirtualBox.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not uncommon. The development cycle for Linux platforms runs a little behind the big platforms.
Yeah, so I was keep getting that error every time I try to launch the actual virtual machine. And from all reports I've been seeing, everybody was saying the only way to correct it is basically go back to the last version that you know works.
Ouch. So you're running a Linux distribution?
No, I'm on Mac OS.
Oh, you're on Mac OS.
Yeah.
Did you try the beta? Are you running an ARM
the beta is for
M1
ARM processors, right?
Yeah, the ARM M1 or M2 processor. Are you running one of the new CPUs?
No, I'm running on the Intel system.
Okay. I've seen weird errors and it has more to do with like system preferences. So let's take a look in a little
Yeah,
bit.
so I went through the whole system preferences thing because I've experienced that before when
Uh-huh,
installing the previous version, 6.1.
uh-huh.
And every time I ran the installation for 7, I got no messages in my system preferences under the security tab.
Exactly. You got no messages, which means, I mean, how can you address it if you don't present?
Yeah, but it was asking. So I think that they've been doing it like separate from system preferences because it was actually asking me to enter my password while I was installing.
Yes,
So I had the system preferences tab open while installing also so I could see if the pop-up comes in, but
right.
it never came in. But it did ask me for my password while I was installing it in a
Okay.
separate pop-up, and I entered it, but yeah, it still never worked.
Never worked as in the virtual machine, the guest machine wouldn't run or wouldn't load.
Yeah, the virtual machines wouldn't run because I still have a Debian machine, virtual machine running as well. So um I so if something's not working with the Windows virtual machine, I will check it with
But
Debian to make
Debian,
sure because
right.
I know Debian I had Debian running perfectly
That-
before, so
That's
I
actually
would have
where,
something to compare it to.
yeah, let me compliment you. That's very shrewd. I'm impressed by that. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really good technique.
Yeah, so it's not really it's not really a problem with the Windows itself virtual
Uh-huh.
machine. It's
Uh-huh.
just a compatibility issue, I think, between the extension packs and the actual version of VirtualBox.
Okay, I have seen cases where a VM would break and you just have to reload the VM and start over. And that's not common, but I have seen cases where, there were updates and for the way that the way that it played out, it did something to the virtual machine profile along the way, and that required just wipe it, start over again with the server.
Yeah. I
We
even
haven't.
tried I even tried the uninstall tool that came in the VirtualBox package
Uh-huh.
to actually scrub everything from VirtualBox off my PC, off my Mac, but yeah, it still never happened.
Well, if you don't mind, after we finish review of the solution, we can roll up our sleeves and let's Shanoa share her screen and then we can share yours and we'll see if we can resolve this together. Okay.
Okay.
And I hate to say it, but I would be remiss in my duties as a CSE 410 instructor if I did not. What you are witnessing firsthand, Luke, is what happens when processes or, when software applications and OS backend are designed in a manner where they're not in sync with each other, right? So you have these contentious scenarios where everything else is working, but this one isn't, and nobody can figure out why. The really cool part of this is the solution we're about to engage provides additional resources and capacity for you to investigate these very things. And that's so if we can't, in our walkthrough of 3.1, if you if we can't pin the tail on the donkey before the end of this class, then I want you to dive into 3.2 and run it on your own system, okay? Now, in your case, if you don't have a Windows system to access, I can provide you a login for a Windows system from a distance, okay?
Okay. I'm running boot camp as well, so I should be able to load it up on the other side.
Oh, that's freaking awesome. I love boot camp.
Yep, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and nothing runs Windows faster than a Mac. That's the craziest thing. But When you run Boot Camp and it boots native into Windows, one thing Apple does very, very well, they fine-tune their hardware drivers so well for the Windows environment that it's smooth, fast, and hotter than almost any other platform out there. I mean,
Yep.
you have to plunk down some serious cheddar, like 5,000 or 6,000 in a gaming laptop to even come close to what a Mac will do in that case. And that's one reason why I purchased Macs for so many years. And people would say, "Oh, what do you think of the new OS X, whatever?" And I'm like, I don't use it. I just blow it up and I run a minimal profile for the Mac OS, but I run Windows most of the time. So I would say that's one of the strongest reasons to consider the purchase of a Mac, is that if you want to do high performance Windows computing, there are a few that rival that. And their secret is that they understand the internals of the OS. And all of their drivers are very high performance. So that's one thing I have to give them a lot of credit for.
Yeah, and they also only allow you to get access to like updates for drivers that are actually stable.
Right, right.
Boot Camp would actually send out driver updates to you.
Yes.
Instead of you
Yes.
having to do them on your own.
Yes, very much so. Okay. So I'm going to blow up the screen a little bit, and hopefully this will cooperate. 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 Yeah, if at first you don't succeed, try again, right? So this is a guided solution, and it does take some time. I'm going to be honest with you. Each of these YouTubes are, they go into quite a bit of detail. Each of the, and I'm going to double click to make sure each of these is working here. So I want to make sure.
Chasing that A and want to save time on proofreading?
Oh yeah.
Grammarly makes
Of
editing
course,
one
yeah,
click simpler.
Grammarly. I'm hoping for.
This is Scott Hansel.
So Scott has an 18-minute video on how to debug. And you can take the concepts that Scott presents in how to use Sysinternals with Procmon, that's Process Monitor, and Process Explorer. So Procmon and EXP, that's Process Explorer and Process Monitor, right? And that's his focus. And he walks through a very specific utilization, right? He shows how he does with it, and there are a lot of ways to use Sysinternals. That's the first disclaimer I'm going to share with you, is that it's a very powerful suite of tools and it's woefully underutilized. But I want you to take some quality time and watch this 18-minute stretch. And then, hey, for both of you frustrated here with 3.1, yeah, you can have Process Monitor percolating in the background while you're running your stuff here, and you'll pick up additional information that can provide insights so we resolve the issues. So that's very powerful. So 18 minutes here. The problem is that we're all multitaskers, right? So when we say we're going to watch something, we have other things that are on the back burner. And for this solution, I would recommend that you set aside some dedicated time where you're in a quiet place and no one can interrupt you, and you turn your stuff off. And you don't have 15 blinkies going on the bottom of your taskbar so that, oh, here comes Teams, oh, here comes whatever. You'll need to structure your time. Now, one of the things that I want to spell out here is that you're following the method that's introduced, and then you use your own system with one of the methods shown in the video, okay? And note that in each case, when working with your own system, you may have to choose a different process other than the one shown, because you might not have the same mix of applications. Does everybody understand what I'm saying here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Because I get text messages and email messages, and it's like, well, I would have finished it on time, but I can't follow along after this point. And you know, and they don't have this software loaded on their system. And I'm like, we explain this. All right. Now, you can use the same if you have a similar mix of software. There's no problem with that. But here's the thing that I want you to understand. Note the timestamp, how many minutes, how many seconds into the YouTube, the action, the method is referenced. Now, this is critical. And we've had students have to resubmit needlessly. Each year, students resubmit needlessly because they missed this point right here. That's why it's highlighted in yellow, right? The timestamp on the video. What do I mean by the timestamp on the video? Where's my, I thought I had Scott up here. Didn't I have Scott? No. Where's Scott? Oh, is he over here? Underneath my bar. There we go. There's Scott, all right? Now let's say that we're right here and you're like, wow, I got to do this one, okay? I got to do this one. It's this value right here we're concerned about, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to demonstrate on your own system the method that is introduced starting with this timestamp, and you're going to have to reference that. So you're going to want to put it in Notepad, or you're going to want to open a Word document and say, okay, with the first video, 7:45, 7 minutes, 45 seconds in, Scott demonstrates this. I'm doing it with that, right? And that is something that you will do with each of the videos. Okay, so there's a pattern here. You're going to work this yourself. Now, if you don't, it's just not going to mean anything. It's not going to be as relevant. And Sysinternals can be used to identify Sysinternals can be used to identify viruses that haven't got a signature yet. We call it a 0-day attack, where a virus is out and nobody knows what the hell it is, and it's causing problems on your system. You can use Sysinternals to get ahead and turn in stuff and post it on a forum, and then your name is out there in the big lights, and it's like, holy crap, you helped kill a problem. There was a kid last year that had a similar scenario play out. He was from Great Britain. He used some tools, he figured out what was going on, and he posted it. And there was a worldwide exploit that was playing out that was damaging DNS. And he figured it out. And he posted this, and everybody else checked it out, and they're like, wow, this is true. You'll never guess what happened to his career path after he did that. He got all kinds of offers to workplaces. He got offers from universities. Hey, come and finish your program, right? Or start a program, start a new program. You know, forget where you are at that little dinky little college where you're at now. Come to Cambridge, right? So he got significant offers, and that's a real thing. This is worth your time, okay? But the key is to structure your time. Now, in each of these 3 videos, the process is the same. So you capture one screenshot from your own system using one of the methods shown in the video. In this case, we're talking about removing a virus without an antivirus program, right? You're going to have to use different processes than the one other than shown. You may be able to use the same if you have the same mix. Notice the date timestamp. Notice the date timestamp. Everybody got it? The fact that this is, you replay the same process each of 3 times. Everybody clear on that?
Yep.
Now, here's one thing I'm going to caution you against. And please don't do this, because it'll just piss me off. And this is full disclosure here. I'm being completely transparent. We had some seniors each season who were busy and they have jobs, and yeah, okay, they've got a lot on their plate. But guess what was most common about their date time stamp? All three of them.
The same.
It wasn't that they were the same. It's that they were always within the first 3 minutes of the video. They didn't watch the rest of the video. They just let the video play, and then they're like, okay, that looks easy. I'm going to do this. 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Okay, this looks easy. I'm going to do that. Oh, this looks easy. I'm going to do so-and-so. And I got irritated, and it was like, okay, let me ask you a few things about the rest of that video, right? The other thing that happened too was that some students, well, let's just put it this way. How do I describe this? They mixed up the times and they mixed up the video links. So it's called security through obscurity or something. I don't know what the problem was, but this was a simple exercise, right? So the goal is you do the first YouTube and then you capture a screenshot and how it works out. And when I look at your screenshot, if I find out it's from down here, and then I find out it's from over there, and then put another way, they were in such a hurry, they got them all mixed up. So part of the process was, I'm only going to do 2 or 3 minutes. The other part of the process was, yeah, that I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, that's not even the same video. So they had screenshots for different parts of the submission. This is part A. Now I could label this part A, part B, and part C, just for clarity. But what I had to do in each case where there were simple but profound errors, I just zeroed it out and kicked it back and said, I'm sorry, try again. And I do not want that. We have a small enough class and we all know each other pretty well. And I'm just, again, I'm being totally transparent. It's okay if you need a little more time to get the third one done by the next week deadline, but don't rush it, okay? Because when people rush, they cheat. It's called cheating yourself, right? So you don't get the full benefit of what happens over here, right? Because some of the richest stuff happens toward the end. And then when you do your thing on your system, you're more invested in taking out a method a little further and following along with greater depth. The whole intent of this is for you to gain an appreciation of how powerful Sysinternals is. If you get this, if the light bulb goes on, it will change your life, whether you're doing solution development as a applications programmer or you're working cybersecurity, right? Because people don't utilize these tools, and they should. And it used to be that you had to go to the website to install Sysinternals, but they're actually starting to build in some hooks so you can just click under like apps and control panel, and it'll load those things in the background, right? So that's something that I just wanted to take the time to be a little more deliberate in explaining. Half of our class is offline today, so they're going to watch this video later. Hello, Deanna. Hello, Tommy. Right, and they're gonna Tommy Romero. So he is creatively working the hybrid modality of this course out of sheer necessity. And when he gets to this point, I hope he's hearing that like everybody else, because I think I stressed it plainly enough in previous classes if you were there in person, but if you're watching the video and you didn't watch the whole thing, then it caused a problem. Now, 3 screenshots, 3 timestamps, 5 points, right? Watch it, use it. If you have an issue, then I'm still available for assistance, okay? So if you don't and you can't follow through with a thing, email a screenshot for a given issue for additional assistance. Now, credit will be deducted for each case a timestamp does not match up with the view shown on your system. I could add, credit will be deducted for each case a timestamp occurs within the first 10 minutes of each video. Just don't, okay? Please. I mean, you can pick something earlier in the video if you think, okay, I've watched the whole thing and I like it. But there's something about somebody doing it within the first 2 minutes, and it's slop. And it's like, okay, all right, I know you're busy, but you missed it. Of all the things you could learn in the OS class, how to wield the most powerful set of tools is the one thing you really should pick up, right? Everybody feel me there?
Yep.
Okay, enough said. And I'm going to click on each of these to make sure the links are still good, because sometimes, for some reason, people pull stuff down.
By the way, Dr. Kentip, my VM is up.
And how we can use this to remove any sort of infection on the system. Now, this is not going to be an investigation.
So this is 30 minutes. The first one was 18 minutes. I don't think that's excessive, right? What do you think? So far, not so bad, right? Because, I mean, you could watch. Oh, yes. There we go. Okay. I was going to say, maybe I should.
Super Dollar is your one-stop shop for everything. We have your best price.
Yes.
Hello, and welcome to.
Yes, I've been thinking about, you know, YouTube, paying for the YouTube ad-free thing just for this reason. Anyway, the last is what, 10 minutes long? Everybody see that? So
Yep.
18 minutes, 30 minutes, and 10 minutes. There is no reason anyone can't watch the whole enchilada, right? The whole thing. And that's one reason why I took the time and the quality. Now, I will tell you this. Some of the best videos out there, right, have to do with the author, Mark Russinovich. Okay, I spelled his stuff wrong. If you search Mark Russinovich, Sysinternals, he is the inventor, the primary. Now, he gets into the weeds, okay? And I want to advocate that if you're bit by the bug and you finish the solution and you're feeling up to it, you should dive a little deeper. And in some cases, now he did this at a technology conference, right? Tech Ed North America. So what are we saying? This was a huge conference for developers, and Mark Russinovich has been named the Microsoft Most Valuable Professional, Microsoft Valued Professional, MVP. I don't know how many years in a row. Mark is also employed by Microsoft at this point. And wow, he is way up the food chain in terms of leadership there. But he's earned it. And the cool part about some of these videos is that they're pretty high quality stuff. And all right, so here you see 23 different videos for Mark Rusinovich is the Chief Technology Officer for Microsoft. He is a Senior Vice President at Microsoft right now. So, and yes, you can get different excerpts from some of his presentations on specific topics. And this one's not too long, right? It's 20 minutes, and it's Mark Rusinovich himself. And there is nothing like getting a taste from somebody. The one thing I found with Mark Rusinovich's videos is that they are intended for people who do high-level application development at Fortune 500 companies, and so they're very much into the IDE environment, and he references a lot of stuff in that context. And if that's not your wheelhouse, sometimes they get into details that require additional research, right? You got to stop, pause the video and say, okay, what the heck was that term again? Oh, it's part of the Visual C++ Studio. Okay, right? And so that's one aspect of it, is that you have to be into the Microsoft Kool-Aid to appreciate that the most. It is a great way to jumpstart your understanding of Sysinternals, you know, what's under the hood and the most privileged corners of the operating system. So I would encourage you to consider diving a little deeper on your own as your time permits. And I wanted you to know specifically about Mark Rusinovich himself. So if you find that you're going to be developing applications for a Windows environment, this is one of the best places to start. And these tools will help pin down software bugs faster than you can blink when nothing else works. So that's all I'm going to say about our solution at this point and Mark Rusinovich, but I just wanted to take a moment to, in my own small way, pay some tribute or homage to Mark Rusinovich. He does have a textbook that accompanies his thing, and the previous links we've shared with you. When you get to his website, there's some links for it. Any questions about our solution? Okay. Now, I'm going to stop sharing. Would anyone else care to? All right, so I'm going to ask a question. Should we proceed with one-on-one assistance with the recording and play, or would you prefer that we pause the recording because, well, I don't know, we might get stuck, it might be frustrating, we might run into, I mean, each of these systems are your own personal systems, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm content to do either. Should we just keep on and then I'll stop sharing and you share your screen? Everybody comfortable with that? And
Yeah.
and if something weird or goofy happens, you have my promise, I will edit it. I will edit it out of the video, okay? Because your other classmates will see this and it'll be out on YouTube, all right? So, Miss Shinoa, can you please share your screen? And thank you for being willing to share one of your challenges. So we're in system, and this is your virtual machine. And what platform are you running again? Like a Windows 10, Windows 11? Or a Mac?
I have Windows 11.
Okay, cool. Did you have to load the redistributable in order for this to work, or no?
No.
That's so weird that Windows 11 would have that stuff built in, because usually redistributables are considered to be legacy components, but the latest one evidently. All right, stop. Can you scroll up? See where it says cumulative update for Microsoft Server operating system? So this is what you're trying to do, correct? And you're saying the network is misfiring?
Okay, yesterday I was at UVI while I was doing this, and none of this stuff are popping up. Like, I will keep pressing, like none of this will pop up. It will just say error, and you have
Mhm.
to check with your organization to fix the issue.
Yes, now I did check with ITS today because my Outlook client cannot find the Exchange server and it won't, and it doesn't matter if I'm using a cable connection or a Wi-Fi connection. And I heard from them that the network was down on the campus yesterday in some places, that it wasn't working right or correctly. So you're home now, correct?
Yeah, I mean the internet was working yesterday when I was at UVI, but it was just having, like, let me show you this.
Yeah, it was having issues.
Uh,
So,
oh wait, yes I did.
by the way, can you scroll down and can you just enter an ipconfig command from a command prompt?
Really not letting me scroll.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they want you to use PowerShell. That's understandable. So just, yeah, just ipconfig. Oh, and we don't need the all switch. I just want to, okay, so you're pulling a local IP address from your local network. So you're in bridge mode on your network card, right?
Yeah.
Right. Shouldn't be an issue. Is your server manager the dashboard up, or did you close that when it started, when your VM started?
The dash. Oh, I closed it, I
Okay.
think.
Can you scroll down and go to your start menu and just select server manager, please? And click on local server, if you would. And in just a minute, it'll populate some things. Okay. Allow me to call, so this can help with network hiccups. And you can get into some, and you'll find out in a minute in the next modules when we get into Active Directory environments and extending file systems across an enterprise. The time zone. Issues with time sync can create huge problems. If your local laptop is in St. Croix and the virtual machine is in the Pacific, the West Coast, right? So click that Pacific time. And then change the time zone. And then let's select from the down, the one that says Georgetown, La Paz, Manaus, San Juan. There we go. That's our time zone. And we just say, okay. I want you to notice there's an internet time tab on that. That's pretty cool. You can point to an NTP server and it will synchronize automatically. Now, if you hit the refresh button at the top, just there you go, refresh, it should show Georgetown, La Paz, Manaus, San Juan. Okay, cool. Let's pick on the IPv4 network address thing where it says IPv6 enabled. That one. Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. So one of the things that we've found is that service providers are a kind of a mixed bag when it comes to the adoption of IPv6. In particular, and I'm just going to say this much, there are resources in IPv6 that are running to help bridge the gap between version 4 network environments and the latest, greatest version 6 environment. Those utilities are kind of, well, I would, in earlier implementations, let's just say they weren't ready for prime time, and there were security interests or security exposures that became an interest when you had hybrid IPv6 over IPv4 network hosts or network backbones. Until you know that your local environment is IPv6, your internet service provider is IPv6, and your device is IPv6, I recommend that you double click this right now. Yeah, double click the Ethernet and go into properties. And uncheck the TCP/IP version 6 at the bottom of that list right there. Yeah, just uncheck it. And then hit OK. And then close. And yeah, then let's close that. Now, the other thing that I'd tell you too is, you see where your computer name is WinEGT1VMDUK75, and then it's a member of the work group. No, if you scroll up, please. Upper left corner, computer name and work group. The default name of the work group that is implemented by default upon installation, the name of the work group is work group. If your Windows 11 machine is also a member of the same work group, then you'll have fewer problems for the virtual machine to see and interact with your host machine when you're doing certain activities, right? And things will generally run smoother if they're part of the same work group. Now, this is what I consider to be a nuisance in terms of security, basic network security, because everybody on the planet knows if you're a member of the same work group, then you start to be able to reach out and touch people over the network, the local network. It's not a good thing for everybody to default to the same work group name. And I mean, just to be on the same. Now, if you want to interact and you just want things to work, that's great. I'm just saying, for security purposes, if a hacker wants to get in your Kool-Aid, the first thing they're going to make sure is they're going to see whether or not their machine is a part of the work group. And then they're going to go out there and start browsing the neighborhood. You can turn down the prospect that somebody's going to mess with your Kool-Aid by going into your assigned by DHCP option, right? And what you can do is turn off NetBIOS over TCP/IP so that your machine does not like advertise extra chatty Cathy old legacy network protocols like NetBIOS. So hit properties and then go to the WinS tab once you double click on IPv4. So if you double click on IPv4, it should open up, and then you'll see under advanced in the lower right corner, lower right corner, it says advanced. There's a WinS tab. And WinS was a network naming convention a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away when Land Manager ruled the Earth. Okay, kind of like dinosaurs. Enable NetBIOS over TCP/IP is something you do not want. The default enables it by default, right? If there's no particular preference in a network environment, the default is, it'll have it active. you can always force it active, but I would choose disable NetBIOS over TCP/IP. And then say okay. And then okay. And then okay. And then close. And then the next thing you can do, yeah, you can close this screen then. If you go into the name where it says work group or name, yeah. Click change. So here's a thing I would advocate. On your laptop and on your virtual machines, take the work group default name and change it to something that works for you. Now, I demonstrated this in a cyber class and created a anime work group, and then I named my computer Goku because my computer's slow and old and kind of bogged down sometimes, almost like digitally constipated. Not to ooh, okay, that's not a good analogy, but anyway. And Goku always, I used to joke with my two sons when they were watching their anime. I'm like, what's wrong with Goku? He looks like he needs more fiber in his diet. He's always straining, right? So it was kind of a point of humor between my son and I, old guy to young guy. Anyway, that's beside the point. You pick a convention. It could have something to do with a hobby. It could have something to do with your favorite movie series. You know, maybe you want to do like an LOR for Lord of the Rings for a work group, and then you have computer names from characters in Lord of the Rings, right? Or Star Wars, or horror. Oh, I like that. Now, I would advise that if you have a work group and it has a provocative name, well, all right, but people won't see, if they go to browse the network, they won't see horror if they're not a member of the horror work group. And that's actually an excellent choice. So if you're a fan of horror movies and you want to use great, well-known characters from horror movies, you can change your computer name. One caveat about your computer name is that it needs to be 15 characters or less just to be compatible, and there need to be no spaces, and they don't like underscores. They like dashes if you have to have like separations. I like using camel case if I'm going to use a descriptive name. So yeah, you put in something that fits for you, and then it's going to prompt you to reboot. And then your laptop will not see your virtual machine. Okay, yeah, Michael Myers. So good choice. When you reboot your virtual machine, it's going to come up in the horror work group, and your laptop should also be a member of the horror work group with another appropriate computer name, right? So what does this do for you? When you're in your home network environment, and if you have some creepy crawlies in your home network environment, and you'd be shocked at the number of households that just have the occasional creepy crawly in their home network environment. A lot of times you have needless connectivity and update and all sorts of service issues because the backend network is jammed. You're establishing your own independence from others in your home network because they'll be sitting on work group and you'll be in another pond, so to speak. You'll have your own setup and your own network. So where are we talking about being able to browse? Go ahead and hit OK. And then after we're done here, you'd probably want to do the same thing with your laptop. It'll say you must change, say OK, then close. Then it's going to bark at you again. Just say restart later. Yeah, because I want to show you one more thing. Can you close the server manager, please? Okay. What was it I was going to show you? Oh, yeah. Let's scroll down and open up File Explorer. So everybody knows you can use File Explorer to browse files and directories on your system. most people do not recognize underneath the CD drive. By the way, be sure that you go ahead and load the new CD. So when you updated VirtualBox, it also updated the extensions. And what that did was it put a new disk for, it's called guest editions. So the guest edition updated. What you want to do is eject. Let's show you how to do this. Did we cover this in class? If you
I don't recall.
yeah, I think I might have covered it in another class right after that. Right click that and eject it. Yeah. So you're going to eject it. That's the old guest editions from the old VirtualBox extensions. Now go to your devices menu in the VirtualBox management window at the top. Yeah, outside of the virtual machine, inside the Oracle VirtualBox environment, there's a devices menu. And you click that and it says insert guest edition CD image, right? So this is the latest, greatest version of the CD. Now, when you see it, it'll actually, it might even pop up and say, oh, there you go, tap on that. Yeah, hit that, hit run. Yeah, use the run, there you go. And it's going to want to install drivers and stuff, and that's going to help your, it's going to help your virtual machine to be a lot more stable, and it'll fix a lot of problems. Okay. Now, let's get back to File Explorer while that's running in the background. Okay. Can we look at File Explorer? All right. Can you see right below the disk tray you've been noodling with? It says Network. Click on that. This is where people can browse the network. And if client machines are in the same work group, they'll start populating on screen. And if you know some commands, you can start connecting to the other systems in your network. This is some pretty scary stuff, but it's always been there. And hackers love this. They browse the network and they see, okay, let's see what's going on. So they click on the network. Now, if your network browsing is disabled and something called network discovery is disabled, then it's not as common, but there are still lots of older Windows machines that are out there that have those features enabled, and you would be shocked at how we did this. We did this in the Intro to Cyber class last season on campus while we were connected to Buck's Wi-Fi, and we saw office machines in almost every staff department. Maintenance, financial aid, registrar, they just popped up, just spilled out all over the screen. But they're a part of the same group or the part of the same, all right, that's the reference. Network discovery is turned off by default. So older versions of Windows often have that enabled. Oftentimes when you install software, it'll say, hey, do you want others to use this resource? If you say yes, it turns on network discovery. So if you have an, let's say that again, if you have an application that says, hey, do you want this resource to be shared with others on your network? When you say, yes, network discovery is turned on instead of off, and then away you go, and then people can get into the Kool-Aid, okay? So I know that I went through a lot of extra detail about making some changes for your network configuration, but the changes we've reviewed should do much to reduce the incidence of network misfires. And maybe some of these changes will also pay dividends the next time you're connected to the Bucks Wi-Fi network. So the next time you're on campus, Shanoa, let us know if you notice any difference. Okay? Yes? No? Maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're just going to answer okay, and then you're going to want to reboot your virtual machine so it can finish reloading some things. And you can access network discovery and file sharing in the control panel under network neighborhood and sharing. And that's the old name for it. Luke, can we share your screen real quick?
Yeah, sure. Right. So the issue that I've been running into is that when I have 7.0 installed,
Mm-hmm.
work with, yeah, it doesn't actually launch the VMs at all.
Is this an Intel-based Mac?
Yes.
It is. Did you download the VirtualBox early release? The developer's edition?
No, I did not.
You didn't. You just used the straight Mac
Yeah.
OS X edition.
Yep.
Okay. And did you uninstall VirtualBox, the old version, before you loaded the new version?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you empty your trash can after you dragged it into your trash can?
No, I use the actual installer. So if I open up this download package, there's an
Whoa, whoa,
there's
whoa, 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 whoa. No, no, no. Let's back up.
Yeah.
So you uninstalled
Yep.
I know this is going to sound nuts, okay? You uninstalled your old version of VirtualBox,
Yes.
and there it was in the trash can, right?
No, it wasn't there.
You emptied the trash can.
I did not.
If you didn't empty the trash can, then the old VirtualBox there were components of your old VirtualBox that were still in there, and there were some other components that could have been loaded into active memory. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what we do. We uninstall the old version, then we empty the trash can, then we reboot our system. And,
Okay.
and I'm recommending that because what you'll find is that simple protocols like that will help relieve. Oh. Okay, yeah, go in, use your it says App Store and identified developers, right?
Yeah.
So that is selected. Okay, go into the privacy tab. Let's go into file and folders and full disk access. Let's take that first one.
Yeah, I already gave it it already had these privileges before.
Okay.
The only one it didn't have was full disk access, and I gave it to it.
All right. File and folder is the same.
Yep. It'd be somewhere there. Where was it? There.
That's full disk access, but that's not file and folders. But it probably includes files and folders if you have full disk access.
Yeah.
How about accessibility?
Yeah, it's an accessibility as well.
Wow. Okay. So I would tell you that, you have TeamViewer?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have to have TeamViewer?
I use it occasionally to connect to one of my computers that's in a different country.
Yeah, I would advocate use of another resource to do that. TeamViewer is incredibly problematic and intrusive. And we have seen some really hinky things happen from halfway across the world. And actually, in my first cyber classes here on campus, one of our students in network forensics caught some activity through the back end of his system that was moderated through the free TeamViewer download. See, when you use TeamViewer, you promise that you're using it for your own personal use. But if you use it for a work environment, then you're in violation of the end user license agreement. And what's weird is that TeamViewer wants to access things like, I don't know, your contacts, your addresses. It gets into stuff, and a lot of times it'll pop up, but then sometimes the pop-ups will misfire and it'll get into it anyway. I once ordered my IT staff in writing that if I caught anyone loading TeamViewer, they would be terminated permanently forever. I strongly urge you to discontinue use of TeamViewer.
Okay.
I'm just saying. And most
Yeah.
people, most people wouldn't have like performed, network forensic analysis on the back end and then tried to contact people in the company, which was a location in Eastern Europe that used to be controlled by the former Soviet Union. And ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen, ne? So it was an East German site and I can speak German. I was expecting to be able to speak just to a live person because I wanted to ask them, why the hell are you in my Outbook and my address book? What's going on? And I wanted to have that conversation in a lively and personal way, auf Deutsch, right? In German. Couldn't reach anybody. Nobody was home. At that time, nearly 10 years ago, there were nearly 400 million downloads of the free app, and it was installed everywhere. And it was in use in work environments, even though the commercial version, if you use it in work environments, you're supposed to pay for the license. The license is $1,000. They do not discount for education. They do not discount for research. They do not discount for nonprofits and federal government. And I'm like, why would you give away something that's so cool and so free and then warn people they can't use it in the workplace and then make it out of reach to legitimately purchase in the workplace? Come on, who does that? Does that smell right to you?
Yeah, that sounds like a red flag.
That's like, and I try to call people and I'm like, hey, we want to do research on this. Can we buy it? We have computer labs and we have a cyber program. And they're like, no, the price is $1,000. I'm like, $1,000 a license? Like, and then they say, well, you're using it for commercial, right? If you can reach anybody, it's a salesperson. If you want to reach technical people, you can't reach anyone in any language. That used to be the case 10 years ago. That's why we swore off and said, okay, we're using other methods. So here's what I would advise. Remove TeamViewer. Remove the version of VirtualBox you have installed right now, completely. Okay. Empty the trash, repower your system, then go back in and reload your VirtualBox and see what happens then. Because that might do it. And I'm assuming you've done all your other updates, right? You've run your
yeah everything's up to date.
I trust you.
I tried to do the full scrub yesterday while I was trying to do the when I was doing the assignment first. I completely wiped it, restarted everything, and I was running into the same issue.
Right. Well, I do have 2 Mac Minis in my office, and I'm going to get off this screen, and then I'm going to try the update to 7.0 and see if I run into a similar problem. It says can't be open because Apple cannot check it for malicious.
So what's going to happen is when I hit OK, it's going to show up here in
open anyway, right?
General, and then I open anyway, and then I could run the the uninstaller tool. So do you wish to uninstall? Yes. Fuse for macOS core package.
Wow.
Sure.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, this
And
is really...
it completely scrubs everything from VirtualBox off the PC. If I open my app drawer, it would disappear completely, which it's gone.
But you got to empty your trash can.
Yeah.
And you have a lockdown browser.
Yeah, Respond us. The school makes us use it every now and then.
I would remove it.
I know the problems that come with these lockdown browsers. They have severely intrusive, like you said.
Yeah.
Same with TeamViewer, they're
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, I would uninstall that also and only have it loaded only when required. I would. Okay, well, let us know, shoot me an email and tell me if yours worked. I'm gonna get on my Mac Mini in the office and run it and see if I run into the same problem, okay?
Okay.
All right.
So this would completely empty everything. No
And-
TeamViewer.
Yep.
A virtual box. Okay.
Yeah, now if you run into a snag and you still can't load it, we'll get you a virtual machine you can access remotely across the internet without using TeamViewer, of course.
Yeah.
And
So I know
yeah,
I've been able to get the previous version to work. So if I go back to 6.1.4, it
right.
functions fine.
Now, what happens if you use Boot Camp?
I haven't tried to run VirtualBox in Boot Camp.
You should. You should. It would solve your problem.
I actually spend most of the time on this machine and the Mac side of it. I just have the Windows side for like programs that I can't run on Mac, natively on the Mac.
Of course, but you could set up a folder that could be accessed from Boot Camp and from the Mac side, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, and with that thought in mind, you can use the same directory from the Windows side to stow the one virtual machine. You just run it from the Windows side, right? Instead of running it from the Mac. So you have this common directory that you can, it's a, file store that you can access from either the Boot Camp side or the Mac side.
Right.
And when you're logged in Boot Camp, make sure you have full privileges. There's a command, there's a way to ensure that your login has total absolute power, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Yoda would say. So you have absolute power over that from the Windows side, and then you load VirtualBox and establish that as the default folder for your VM store. Because if you're running from Windows and you don't, it'll put it in the documents folder. And if the documents folder is synced with OneDrive, it'll start doing weird stuff to the cloud. And that's another thing that happens and everything.
Oh yeah, I have that disabled.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let me know what you think of our Sysinternals walkthroughs. And I would also encourage you to use Sysinternals to resolve any problems that coincidentally pop up along the way after you learn the techniques. There is nothing cooler than taking out a shiny new set of tools and fixing something no one else can. That's cool. All right. We'll sign off for now. Any questions before we quit recording and